Your partner is telling you about their day. Something happened at work, something that clearly matters to them. And you can see it in their face. They're not just making conversation, they're processing something real. And you're listening. You are. But then your brain does this thing. Halfway through their sentence, a thought fires, a connection, a story of your own, something that relates to what they're saying. And before they even finish, you jump in. Oh yeah, that happened to me too. Let me tell you about... And just like that, the conversation is about you now. After years of watching this pattern play out, in sessions, in relationships, and in my own conversations, I can tell you it's not what you think it is. There's a single sentence you can say to yourself mid-conversation that changes the entire dynamic. It's just one sentence. But it only works once you understand what's actually driving the interruption in the first place. I'm going to show you what your brain is doing in that half second before you cut someone off. Why it does it. And the one shift that changes the entire dynamic. But first, look at their face. You don't see anger. You see something worse. Resignation. Like they expected it. Like this has happened so many times, they've stopped being surprised. And you feel it. That sinking recognition. Oh man, I did it again. But here's what's confusing. You weren't trying to be rude. You weren't trying to steal the conversation. The thought felt important. The connection felt relevant. It just came out. And this isn't just with your partner. It happens with your friends, in meetings, with your kids. Someone is talking and before they finish, you've already launched. And the version you tell yourself is always the same. Oh, I'm just enthusiastic. I'm a fast thinker. I was just trying to relate. But if you're being honest, the person on the other end of the conversation doesn't feel your enthusiasm. They feel unseen. They feel like they're just a launch pad for your stories. And that's the gap. You're not trying to make it about yourself, but somehow it keeps ending up there. So what's actually happening? Because this isn't a manners problem. This isn't about learning to be more polite. There's a mechanism running underneath this that most of us have never been shown. And when you see it, you'll recognize it in every conversation you've ever redirected without meaning to. Charles Derber is a sociologist who spent years studying how conversations actually work. Not how we think they work, how they actually function. And he discovers something that changed how researchers understand everyday conversation. He found that in most conversations, people make one of two moves. And most of us don't even know we're making them. He called them the shift response and the support response. Here's the difference. A support response keeps the attention on the other person. So someone says, "Oh, I had the hardest day." And you respond, "What happened? Tell me about it." The spotlight stays on them. Their story continues. They feel heard. Now, here's the other one. A shift response redirects the attention back to you. Someone says, "Oh man, I had the hardest day." And you respond, "Oh, I know. Let me tell you about my day." Same opening, completely different direction. And Derber called this pattern conversational narcissism. Now, before that word makes you flinch, this isn't about being a narcissist. It's about a specific conversational move that almost everyone makes without realizing it. The shift response feels like connection. In your head, you're thinking, "I'm relating to them. I'm showing them that I understand." But to the person on the other end, you just took their moment and made it yours. And here's what Derber's research showed. In the majority of everyday conversations, shift responses outnumber support responses. Most people don't listen to respond to what was said. They listen to find an opening for what they want to say. So the interrupter isn't some rare villain. The interrupter is almost all of us. The only question is how often. and whether you can see it when it happens. Now, here's where it gets a little more nuanced, because not all interrupting is the same. Deborah Tannen is a linguist at Georgetown who spent her career studying conversational style, and she found something that complicates everything I just said. She identified two ways people show they're engaged in a conversation. She called one high involvement. These are the people who overlap, who finish your sentences, who jump in. And for them, that's not rudeness. That's how they say, I'm with you. I'm in this with you. The other style she called high-considerateness. These people wait. They leave space. They would never talk over you. And that's how they show they care. So here's the trap. When a high involvement person and a high considerateness person are in the same conversation, the involved one thinks they're being warm, and the considerate one feels run over. It's same conversation, two completely different experiences of it. Now, I can feel some of you grabbing onto this. See, I'm not an interrupter. I'm just high involvement. That's my style. Or maybe. But I'm going to give you a way to check. And you have to be honest with yourself for about 3 seconds. The next time you jump in, ask yourself one question. In that half second before I spoke, was I finishing their thought? Or was I escaping into mine? Because the real high involvement, the warm kind, the kind Tannen studied, comes from being so deep in someone's story that you completed the way they're already heading. You were with them. But the other kind comes from pressure. A thought of your own showed up, and it got so loud you couldn't stay in their story for one more second. And you already know which one it was. You felt it in your body before you opened your mouth. And here's the tell that settles it for good. If this only happened with one person in one kind of conversation, then sure, maybe it was a style mismatch. But you already told me earlier it's not just your partner. It's your friends. It's meetings. It's your kids. If the same thing follows you into every room you walk into, the common factor isn't the room. It's not their style. Let me put this in caveman terms. You know our friend, Nosaj, the full-time caveman. A thought show up while someone's talking, and his whole brain goes,
Oh, thought. Thought must say now, or thought gone.
And that's not a joke. That's the actual wiring. Some part of your brain treats an unfinished thought like it's about to bolt into woods and never come back. And the panic you feel, the need to grab it before it's gone, there's a name for it. That's where Kruglanski comes in. Kruglanski is a social psychologist who studies something called the need for cognitive closure. This is basically your brain's tolerance for open loops. Some people can sit with an unresolved thought and let it wait. Others experience an unfinished thought like a fire alarm. It feels urgent. It feels like if you don't say it right now, it'll disappear. And the conversations will move past it. And that helps explain what's happening in the moment before you interrupt. Your brain generates a thought while someone else is talking, and instead of holding it, your need for closure kicks in. The open loop becomes unbearable, and the only way to close it is to speak. So the interruption isn't really about the other person at all. It's about relieving your discomfort. Every time you jump in, you're not trying to take over the conversation. You're trying to close a loop that feels physically urgent. But here's what that costs. Every time you relieve your pressure, the other person pays the price. They feel cut off. They feel like what they were saying didn't matter enough to finish. And they feel like they're just a waiting room for your next thought. And over time, they stop bringing you the real stuff. They give you the short version, right? The surface version. Because somewhere inside they've learned, if I start talking, they're going to jump in before I finish anyway. That's the real cost, not one interrupted sentence. A relationship that slowly loses depth because one person stopped believing they'd be fully heard. So how do we change this? Not by going silent, and not by white-knuckling every thought you have until the urge passes. We do it with 3 tools, and each one has a different job. Beautiful pivot number 1, the catch. This is the one you use in the moment. Someone's telling you something, and your brain fires a shift response. Oh, me too. You feel it loading. The story, the connection, the thing you have to say, right? Catch it right there. And instead of launching your story, turn it into a question about theirs. What was it like for you? Wow, what happened next? Keep the spotlight on them for one more beat. Now, you're going to miss sometimes. You'll catch yourself already 3 words into your own story. And that's fine. The catch isn't about being perfect. It's about what you do the second you notice. And there's one sentence that does the whole repair for you. Remember the sentence I promised you at the start of the video? The one that changed the entire dynamic? Here it is. Actually, I want to hear more about yours first. Say that. And 3 things happen at once. You've shown them you caught yourself. You've told them their story still matters. And you've turned the conversation back around in real time. Even when you say it clumsily, it works. That's pivot 1. Catch the shift, hand the moment back. Beautiful pivot number 2, the survival test. The beautiful pivot number 1, handle the moment. This one handles the thought itself. When something fires in your head while they're still talking, don't try to kill it. And don't blurt it either. Just note it. One word, a picture, whatever holds it. Then go right back to their thread. Now wait for them to finish. Like actually finish. And here's a test. Was the thought still there? Sometimes it is. And it's good. And now you can say it without having stepped on a single word they said. But a lot of the time, it's gone. It faded the second the pressure came off. And that tells you something you need to sit with. If the thought vanished the moment you no longer needed to say it, then it was never really about adding to the conversation. It was about getting the pressure out of your head. Remember Kruglanski? The open loop? The fire alarm? This is where you catch it red-handed. The urgency was never about thought being important. It was your discomfort looking for the exit. So you stop reading your interruptions as enthusiasm. You stop calling them engagement. And you start seeing them for what a lot of them actually are. Self-soothing. That's a hard thing to admit. But it's the admission that finally loosens the grip. That's beautiful pivot number 2. Note the thought. Let it prove whether it deserved the floor. Beautiful pivot number 3, the 3-second buffer. The first 2 pivots work on the urge to jump in early. This one works on the moment right after they stop. When someone finishes a sentence, wait 3 full seconds before you answer. And it's not to be polite. It's to actually hear the last thing they said. Because here's what a lot of us are really doing in the back half of someone's turn. We're not listening. We're rehearsing. Composing our reply while their mouth is still moving. There's even a quiet version of it Derber pointed at. The flat, yeah, totally. You drop in while you wait for your opening. So to them, you've already checked out. You're just keeping the seat warm with noise. So you end up answering what you assume they'd say, not what they actually said. The 3-second buffer breaks that. It pulls you out of waiting to talk and drops you into actually hearing. And when you start doing this, people notice something they can't quite name. Your answers fit better. You're responding to the real thing they said. Conversations go deeper and faster. People feel heard. And they walk away thinking talking to you just feels different. Now hear me on this whole set. These 3 tools are simple. Simple and easy are different animals. Every one of them asked you to sit in discomfort. The discomfort of a thought you didn't say. The discomfort of a few seconds of silence. The discomfort of leaving the spotlight on someone else while everything in you wants to pull it back. But that discomfort is the signal. It means you're running a pattern your nervous system has never practiced. And every time you sit in it, even for 3 seconds, you're building towards something bigger than a smoother conversation. You're becoming the kind of person other people trust with the real stuff. And that's the beautiful pivot. Become the person people believe will actually hear them. If you recognize yourself in this video, if you've been the one who jumps in, or the one who stopped finishing their sentences because someone else always does, share this with that person. Or better yet, watch it together. Because this conversation changes everything when both people can see the pattern. Now, we've talked about snapping at the person you love. We've talked about rejecting the good and absorbing the bad. We've talked about the 6 words vocabulary that keeps us blind. And now, how we take up space in conversations without even realizing it. But here's what I want you to sit with. What happens when the conversation isn't about talking at all? Your best friend calls with big news, a promotion, an engagement, a dream that's finally happening for them. And you say, "That's amazing. I am so happy for you." But something in your body tells a different story. A tightness in your chest, a quick sting that comes and goes, a thought you'd never say out loud. What is that? And why does someone else's good news sometimes feel like your loss? That's where we're going next. We're beloved. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next one.